I'll leave it off real time.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we get started with one of my favorite topics, North Road information meeting. Jared had talked to me the other day and said that he talked to the school, he's got it all set. Just the date and time. There is, I noticed on my calendar, that February 10th. At 6 o'clock was the date that I guess we had discussed, agreed upon, however. And you put together
Yep.
information
Flyer, yep.
flyer there to I'm not, I don't know if Jared wanted to send that out ahead of time. He had talked about going door to door, which I don't know if that's necessary, but put in the mailboxes, no, Jared can't be here, he'd be at 9th Street now, so.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure what he wants to do that way.
Well, if Jim shows up, we can at least share the PDF that I circulated. Just forget about the boards, kind of see what it looks like. You got your email?
No,
Click on your email, should.
I don't think I ever set it up here.
Normally if I circulate something. PDF, I don't usually print it and bring it down. PDF that Jim has for the next topic, just so you know. So I'm gonna skip that one. Do the other one till Jim gets back. But I believe the questions as it relates to that is just the time. Sure we do. So 2:10, I think is fine. I had it on my calendar. I also had notes from 2:4 to 2:5, but I don't know where that necessarily come from.
Well, I thought it was earlier too, but then Jared said the 10th, but. I thought
Yeah,
I was looking on Tuesday or Wednesday.
I have it at 7 o'clock right now. Sorry.
You save it on
I don't know if there've been any,
Is that consistent for everybody else? 2:10 and 7 o'clock?
At 7 p.m.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I have on my calendar.
Yeah. We'll move it back to like 6, we could,
Yeah, if we can push it up, I'd be okay with that too.
each over there.
I appreciate that.
60.
Where's it gonna be?
Huh?
Where? At
Oh, it's gonna
the,
be at the school, the academy.
Yeah, they have a large
There's,
meeting room or something like that.
when's the time
Wicked.
for that?
We have been talking about that church at North Road. Jared is going to push it to the academy for size of the room. I don't know how many people will actually show up, but we had, I don't, we had, John, anyone, residents, anyone calling in, asking about, other than people complaining about the budget, you know,
No, I've heard anybody inquiring at all about the North Road project. Yeah, other than the overall budget, and we've just been up to tell them it includes the North Road project, and I mentioned. Some that we're gonna be having these upcoming meetings.
well, if we can't pull that off, let's just. I don't know, is there anything else to say about it right now?
I think it was just to set the day and the time, so I think that the day is set, 2:10, time, we'll say 6 p.m.
I said to Jim last week, I was putting this together.
Yeah. I believe
I
so.
think we should have all of our big project, capital projects listed for each meeting, but there may not be anything to say about them, but
Just
I'd
have.
like
it on
to
here.
review where they stand month to month to month, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, we'll come back to that when Jim gets here. Canandaigua Farmington MS4 position. That's to be a shared individual Farmington to do the increased level of activity associated with that much for. Oh, very good.
Got it.
Yeah. Let's go back to number one.
Alright. So this is just something we put together, that's takes some of the information from the website. And then it took a little bit of, I added to it a little bit to kind of make it more personalized for the people that might be along the project. Just to give them an idea, like during construction, what types of disruptions they might kind of see or inconveniences they might experience during the construction project. Because it isn't an easy project because we do have to basically move a lane. And then create temporary connections across.
So the road will be.
So the first step will be is like, getting the that large culvert that cuts across North Road. Dealing with that, getting the drainage kind of installed first, because that's the lowest point. And then what'll happen is we'll probably wedge out the northern side. To allow for the shifting of that to the north. And then. Once that's done, we'll create the north side lane. And then eventually we'll move the south lane over.
Is that I was looking at it, I was gonna go test the QR code.
The QR codes,
That
yeah,
goes
should
something?
yeah, it should.
How's this distributed? Or is it not? Is it only on our website?
It hasn't been.
It hasn't been distributed at all,
I
yeah.
understand, but how will it be distributed?
I think Jared was talking about, handing them out or maybe putting them in mailboxes or something along those lines.
I mean, we also have our normal means, I'm sure we could. Talk about posting it on Facebook and
Yeah.
using our new media platforms and putting it on our GoGov website and,
Is it possible to identify the residents in that particular area and mail this to them?
Absolutely, we can pull that right from
That's what we should do.
That's what I think we should do, rather than in each house individually, that would be.
We should be able to pull that right from the GIS.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a
Pete
problem.
said he wanted to do it, but I don't.
Yeah, well, I don't know, especially now with the surgery going on.
Yeah, I think the most effective way to do it would be to mail it. Best use of time.
sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you're sure to get it to every
Right.
resident in the area, rather than relying on them to
Yeah.
see it, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, we can, what if this is approved after this meeting, we can start getting it organized, get mailed out.
I agree completely. I think there's universal agreement here.
Yeah.
You gotta put it in your hands. The 10th is just a month from now, so.
Yeah.
Just try to
We
get
gotta
out
get it out as soon
next
as
week.
possible.
We're gonna send it to everyone along the project corridor. Or just the town residents along the town corridor, the homeless corridor.
Everybody along the.
Because stuff goes down in the east, so some of us will be city residents.
If we have addresses, well, we.
Yeah, I can pull those, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah. No, I
Are you
think.
guys
we
gonna
should.
take the mailing out then?
Well,
You can-
no, you guys mail them out, I'll just go ahead and pull it from the GIS.
Got it.
And send you a mailer list
Oh,
to make it easier.
Okay.
Personally, I think you ought to mail it to
anyone affected.
anyone
Yeah.
affected, that whole
Yeah.
neighborhood.
So it's not
I
to
agree
take
too.
anyone
I
else.
just wanna ask.
Yeah.
You know, like people on North Road, people
We'll
in
come out of those side.
close
streets.
proximity to it, the ones on the side street.
Yeah, we can probably bubble and pick people on Sand Hill, on County Road 28, that area.
Right, cause they're in.
Yeah, anybody's gonna be touched by it in any way.
Yeah, cause the people that are along like Mohawk and Cayuga, those guys will obviously experience, some delays.
During the actual physical work, it's gonna become a one-lane road or a one-way road.
That's some of the things that we kind of talked about is, cause we've been talking with some contractors about trying to do it, we were trying to make it like. It would be a one laner, originally we're talking a one laner and then having traffic go either direction, but then talking with. one of our contractors, and said, why don't you make it a one lane and then you can have a bypass going through the city to basically get you loop back around the other way. Depending on, you know, which chunk you're working on as you move it down, so it'd be maybe a one way out and then coming in, you'd have to go through the city.
I don't understand you at all.
Cause the side streets in the city, so there's like blocks, so depending on how you're working through. You
Is there a
can,
way we can pull that up, John?
yeah,
Well, has the city been talked to about this?
yeah, we sent the plans to, the city, Sarah got back to us. Sarah, what's her name? What's her last name? The new
Planner?
Jim Sprague person,
Oh.
Sarah something or other.
Oh, I can't remember, yeah.
Fletch won't know what her last name is, but yeah, she got back to us and she didn't have any issues with it.
Yeah.
For like, so if you look at the points. Maybe not from Cayuga to east, well, even really Cayuga to east, you can still bypass. Say either the eastbound or westbound lane, essentially through the city, and then
What do you mean through the city?
like taking the side streets through the city. 'Cause
Oh,
you can
that
get
way.
you can get over to east going through the city,
Chapels.
yeah. Versus that way, instead of having a one lane that's two-way traffic. We're gonna queue up a ton of people, you can have it be basically a one lane,
One way.
yeah, one lane coming. Westbound. And eastbound,
Into the
you
city.
going, you could basically jump around, but I'm like, you know, you're not gonna have the whole road. Closed off at once, it'll get done kind of in phases as they move along through the process, so you'll be able to bypass from probably. You know, like Mohawk to Cayuga, and then eventually, yeah, you'll have to. Have a longer bypass to go all the way around to get to the east.
Versus you could have alternating traffic on the one lane road.
Right,
That's the other alternative, right?
that's the other alternative, the contractors didn't really like that, cause it's just like, you're gonna queue up a ton of traffic. By doing it that way. It just makes it harder for them to kind of work, so it's gonna slow them down, so if it slows them down, it's gonna cost more money.
Have any idea what the volume of traffic on the daily,
That's 6,000-ish vehicles.
That's a lot.
6,000?
And that's not, I mean. Probably there would be more, but I bet a lot of people already use that Chapel Street to East Street.
Right,
The-
into the high school.
Yeah, to the high school and stuff, I mean, I
Yeah, they go to
drive by
middle
all
school.
the time.
That street's gonna become jammed.
Well,
It gets jammed now.
yeah,
It's gonna get worse.
and it is a school zone as well.
Yeah.
So that to consider. To increase the traffic in the school zone.
I mean, there's been times when I go pick up my kids. And the traffic waiting to turn onto East Street. Could be 20 cars deep. And it's interesting because. They have a stop
You
sign
gotta take
there.
away that stop sign.
You gotta take away that stop sign.
There's no need for it.
That's the city right there.
That's the city,
Yeah.
they control
Is there any
that.
way we could ask them to eliminate that stop sign?
They probably do it on purpose, to kind of control the speed of traffic, so it isn't just going.
But there also is the crosswalk there too,
Oh, yes.
so.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep,
When would the physical work be done? I mean, some of this would be, I mean, given what the construction season is. Be a lot of activity over the summer when the school's not in session, so.
but it's gonna, I mean,
Well,
right
it's
right
gonna
now,
slop over,
yeah, it's
right?
gonna stop over, but,
can't avoid it.
Gentlemen, when is the estoppel period over?
I got it on my calendar here,
February,
it's the 22nd, I believe.
what is that?
22nd,
So there's like the first, when you pass a bond resolution subject to permits for the referendum. The permits of referendum period lasts 30 days. Then there's like this estoppel period, which is kind of like the clearinghouse for all the financial institutions to say, okay, there wasn't any slip ups anywhere, so. Once you clear that estoppel period, then we're essentially clear to bid.
Thank you.
So so to me, it's like, I'm,
And I think it's the, for instance, the referendum period as well, so like anybody that,
that's when like 5% of
Yeah.
whoever could challenge our action and say, okay, we want to put it out to vote or whatever, and so.
Yeah.
But that period ends this month, I believe.
January 22nd is the first day of after it ends, so.
That's it, and the permissive, so then we're gonna stop the period, so what day did you say? I apologize, 2/what?
The 22nd,
2/22?
yeah, no, February or January. wait.
January 22nd.
Yeah,
Is
because
the
it was 30 days.
Okay.
And it was published, like the week after it was passed in the town board.
Okay, so, alright, so I'm gonna use that as my,
Just not reading everything correct.
yep. But I'll use that as kind of my start date, so we'll put together like a milestone memo that'll kind of outline, the going through the bidding and when we'll actually be able to start. So, the good things that I can at least kind of talk about is that originally, Jim and I have been working on trying to replace the culvert under North Road with a box culvert. We were working with Army Corps gave us a little bit of pushback, although we were able to successfully navigate those guys to allow us to put in the box culvert, which I didn't think they were gonna allow us to do. The Army Corps has new standards where it's like you have to have like, they have aquatic connectivity requirements and, this 1.25 times the ordinary bank width, for basically allowing the stream to move.
And they're involved because you're
It's a regulated
doing
stream.
it for the stream.
Yeah, it's a regulated stream, so, that's the reason why they were involved, but, I argued back and just told them, like, I'm basically connecting to a pipe, so I'm like, I don't really have a lot of leeway to like change some of the things that they're asking to change, and then basically, okay, you'll just follow under a standard nationwide 3, and you guys can move ahead. Now, with that, while that was going on, I was doing my own research on nationwide 3, and I had hypothesized to Jim, was like, we could probably look at trying to do a structural liner underneath this culvert, because we haven't had experienced any issues where we said that this culvert is limited based on capacity. We haven't experienced any situations along those lines, so what we could do is do a structural liner that will last, 50, 75 years. In lieu of replacing the whole box culvert. Now, the advantage of that is that no surface disturbance through the road, which means I don't have to close the road. That's a huge help for the school. Also helps us because we can get into that work earlier into the calendar year instead of waiting until school's out to close the road. So that helps us. And then the other part too, it's a little less expensive to do the structural liner than to replace the whole culvert with a box culvert. So talking with Jim, we both agree, I think that's a better approach for this culvert, is to basically use a structural liner. So what's gonna change is we'll have 2 large diameter manholes on the either ends of the culvert to allow for entry points, and then for us to tie our drainage into. And then there'll be a structural liner in between those 2 manholes.
What's a structural liner?
So it's, so Jim's worked with him before too, so it's, my guy Rusty from Obic, out of Ohio, they come in, they have a rig that has all these different polymers that are in them. So what they do is they spray it with a urethane to give it a build for structural integrity, and then they line that with a polyurea, and that kind of caps it all off. So it's basically, if the pipe rots away, the structural liner itself has the H20 loading.
And what's the existing culvert constructed of?
It's a CMP. Well, I don't want to tell you that like I actually know exactly what it is, because that pipe changes like 4 different types of materials as you go through. So I don't know exactly what's under the road, but we suspect it's a 5x4 arch pipe. So it's not, it'll look kind of like that. So the bottom part is about 60 inches, and the rise of that is about 48 inches. So we were gonna replace it with like I think a 6x4 box culvert.
No.
But it's a weird one because because it's got this weird skew to it, so, cause it comes across the road on an angle. So we have to tie in, so we had to create like these custom skewed pieces to try to marry it up to line in. Cause there was no real
So
good way
you
to
just
do it.
use whatever was handy at the time, or?
I don't know, because like it's. Like the whole, you can see it, the blue line that's right there, that's the stream. It's completely channelized through the city, and then it disappears right where like that kind of where that inflection point is. Where it kind of pulls to the west. It goes underground,
The street.
the stream, yeah, and then it stays underground till probably, I think, like maybe 300 feet or 400 feet north of North Road.
Oh,
So that's why I was, it's weird because we have drainage on North Road that we have end sections that spill into a cut out part of the top of the pipe that this thing is under. So like our drainage like discharges overland down into this strange, it's a total rat's nest. We're just talking about the drainage.
Yeah, it's big moves.
Yeah.
It's just water set up.
Yeah.
Built on top of that, on the southern side of, where that, it takes that twist to the left.
We're not touching it there.
No, but that whole area where it's underground,
Mhm.
there's structures on that.
I don't know if there's a structure on top, there's stuff that's close to it. Because it looks like it was channelized and piped one on the north side, because I think there's a commercial, was it Life Spring Community Church, like, yeah, there's a church. So like there was a development there that looks like they kind of wanted to level it out.
It was a ditch. So
Yeah.
I piped it as a kid. And then when the town did the work through there, they piped it back in the Jim Bell days, that was the
Yeah,
late 80s, early 90s.
yeah,
So. Like
Who owns the property? The church?
the church.
yeah,
All the way back. So the
They
three
own
hundred
quite a
feet.
bit, yeah.
yeah.
There's
it
no
goes
easement.
back
for
short.
it.
No,
No, there was no
Nothing.
easement.
nothing.
That's their pipe then.
That's
their pipe there.
yeah,
But the old adage is, well, the town put it in, so it's yours.
right,
But that's the norm.
Of course.
Show me in writing.
yeah, exactly.
Correction on the dates, like. I'm confused as to what was what with all this process.
Yeah, no
So,
problem.
Permissive referendum
Is 120.
is until the 22nd. Plus or minus, I just messaged Kristen.
Yeah, usually goes a day beyond.
To verify when the paper actually published it as opposed to when she sent it to them.
Right.
And then that would put the estoppel period ending around February 11th. And then that's 20 days, that gets published after the permissive referendum is over, and then that goes for 20 days. So we are able to get it published as soon as the permissive referendum is over, then that'll put that around about the 11th, but once we actually.
Mhm.
Get it published, then we'll know for sure, plus or minus a day or two there.
So we'll build the bidding schedule using that 211, so we can try to be out the bid as close to 211 as possible.
That's the day after we have this meeting with people, so. And tell them. After tomorrow, we're going out to bed.
Right.
And we've got nothing in during this permissive referendum period, as we already stated, so.
What was the date these guys decided on for February time?
210 is what we all seem to have on our calendars.
Yeah.
I had 7 PM, but we just discussed kicking it up to 6.
Sounds good.
I'm always looking for an excuse to cancel scouts.
Is that noted on the flyer you had, the date and time,
Yeah, the date, the time, I think, I just needed to edit,
and the
so.
place?
Right.
In the places on there, if you go back to it,
No, it's, you just gotta move that top bar out of the way, it's on a tab over next to it.
I wanna say it was,
yeah, so
Not correct.
the time, yeah,
Okay.
that needs to be updated, so. But yeah, everything else should be all set.
Couple of years from now, it'll be done.
Yeah, it's about, like I said, it'll be about an 18-month project. We've like I've had a couple contractors now kind of look at it, so they feel like our budget is pretty reasonable. Our overall budget is pretty reasonable, which is good, going into it, so. The sooner we can really get out the bid, probably the better, because we gotta lock somebody up.
Yeah.
Cause this is, like I said, it's gonna be probably an 18 month process.
Anything else
Say,
in this one?
we'll walk up and down the sidewalks just for the heck of it, once it's done.
Yes, yeah, exactly. We do have, one, so we did send, stuff out to RG&E, we sent it out to NICEAG, we sent it out to the city, we sent it out to the school district. We sent it out to Canandaigua Farmington Water, just as a coordination.
Fire, EMS.
We have not sent out the fire and EMS, but we can do that. I just don't necessarily have those contacts, or Jim can do it, so, or you guys can do it.
Yeah.
To coordinate with those individuals. We still have to coordinate with the postmaster. About, because there's a couple of mailboxes that are on the south side that'll eventually have to get moved to the north side. And they need to be moved to the north side probably permanently, because once the walk goes through there, I'm not gonna put the mailbox on the back side of it, and I don't really want to put it on the front side.
Probably hear from them.
Yeah, that's probably gonna make some people really happy, but
And they, on the street.
I think most of us happy, they have to do one side.
I would think.
Yeah.
I always thought that was the rule anyway. Okay, I'm better way.
These people are grandfathered more likely, so.
You're welcome to the street.
The school on that was too, to send any information.
We already sent it to the school, yep, the school got copies of the whole thing.
Okay.
None of these entities came back with any.
No one's come back with comments. NICEAG just said, because Jeff Brennan retired, she asked, Krista asked, for a little bit more time to review it. My big concern with NICEAG is that when they have, shallow gas services that might cross the road. Because if we're boxing it out, that can be a limitation. We ran into that at Paris Street. Where there was a gas line or something that came across the road, and then we couldn't re-profile the road like we wanted to.
Yes.
I'm sorry, the water line is in, right?
Water lines in.
Water mains on North Road.
Okay.
That's all.
That's it.
So,
You care if I take the workshop to go sign that stuff, or don't get my.
no, it's fine. I'll get it signed.
All right.
Oh, moving on. Get back to Canandaigua Farmington, MS four business.
Yeah, so we talked about it just yesterday or the day before, so he's just putting, we're waiting, Murphy's gonna put together a separate job description. Cause the job has to be posted as code enforcement, cause that's the title of it. So it's gotta be based on the civil service code enforcement description, but because this is gonna be more MS4 related, we're gonna attach a separate pamphlet that says. These are gonna be the primary functions of this position. So Murphy's just coming up with the job description of what it's gonna look like for that to then be posted and set up with the county civil service and all that, so.
All right. That works somehow here.
And we're looking at
I'll section this.
it's quite the start in the interview process soon. So,
What is the deadline to have anything further to the state for? I mean, the reason we're hiring this person is because the MS4 program is being expanded, so. When do we have to start reporting that expansion to DEC to?
I think it's at the next annual report.
It's the next annual report, because we're gonna do our, well, they held off last year's to be filed March or April of this year due to the changes. So we have to file this year with the new format for last year. They gave everybody time to get their thoughts together, because it took them so long to make the changes. And they weren't ready back last year to do it for the report, so. There's a lot more to it now than before, so.
I know I'm gonna sound stupid when I ask this, but. Refresh my memory with the MS4 is.
Municipal storm sewer sanitary separation system is M4S's. And.
That means a lot, right?
Sounds like a gang, but.
Yeah, but, so we have to monitor all of our discharges, know our discharges, illicit discharges. Our construction that goes on not only for the contractors, but for the town. Good housekeeping practices, there's 6. Actions, thank you, that have to be followed, education. To the public, housekeeping, documentation, and a lot of it. Is actually coming down from the EPA that pushed it on the DEC, is pushing it onto the towns, onto the municipalities.
Unfunded mandates.
Yes,
Well,
that's,
essentially what this was actually kind of the function of this was performed for a short period of time through the DEC. But then they basically said this is too overwhelming, so then they pushed it down to the local level. So it was basically categories based off of like census tract information, so it's based off of density. But there's enough density that stretches from Monroe County through Ontario County down to Canandaigua Lake. That we're in it, but it's, to be clear, it's not necessarily the whole town, it's technically
No.
not in it. It's,
not the whole
it's limited areas, but it's one of those programs where it's kind of hard to implement it for just a certain area versus.
So for now, we're sharing it with Farmington, we're gonna see how it goes for the year. To determine if we need to pull back a full time for us, if there's enough work, and then work that out, but for now, I think it's looking like it should be. Good to share the position, we're administering the position as was passed in the budget. And they're reimbursing a percentage, it's 50-50 essentially.
What's the city do for us for? Do they have their own coordinator?
We approached them in August,
Yeah. It makes sense.
but they were not interested in sharing the position.
Oh.
So.
No.
Don't really know what they're doing.
They got somebody there now that's doing it, so.
What do they do?
They hired somebody to do it, so
Full time.
full time,
Okay, as long as they're
so.
watching.
Yeah.
So we'll partner up with farmers. Makes sense to share it.
It does, but that's, we asked, they were not interested, so we moved on.
And we have mutual watersheds between Farmington.
We do.
So instead of splitting the cost with us. The city decides to take care of the whole cost of itself. And denies certain other things.
Yeah.
City. Okay. When do you think Mark's gonna have that, sometime soon?
Yeah, he's gonna be working on it the next week or two, so, cause we told him we wanna get it out. It's probably not gonna be many applications, I suspect. There's somebody within the Parks Department who's interested in that, is gonna apply, so.
So this person is gonna be responsible to, right?
Yeah, so fall under him,
You-
because it's a code enforcement position, so his department head will be Murphy. So.
All right,
Speaking of members.
grants we got from the DEC. Getting some of our money back.
Nice. Yeah, so you have 2 grants. One was the planning grant for culverts. So we identified 6 culverts that we're gonna study. And then we'll use that report for successive rounds of the CFA to go after implementation grants, so construction grants.
How much money did we get?
We got 50 grand for the planning grant. So it'll be the local share's 5 grand, so it'll be 55 grand total. Part of what the scope of services that I'm hashing out right now is to get a preliminary survey at all 6 culvert locations, so we can identify ordinary high water mark, the bank widths and, the slope and all that stuff, so we can do the little H&H for each one of these things, to size up an appropriate size culvert, build the budget, And then from there, we'll be able to use that to go after grant applications for the culverts. A lot of times we'll group them in like we'll do like the top three. We're gonna do like 2 and 2 and 2, whatever, so you can break it apart, because the next round of construction, I wanna say it's like a 75-25 split, so you got a 25% local share on the construction side of it. We're doing, we got 2 implementation grants for the town of Richmond. That we're basically doing the same thing, all the same process, went through the planning phase, going through the implementation phase, it's good.
We got a lot of money.
Yeah. I think because they adopted these new standards, I think that's part of the reason why they're pumping money into us, because none of the old culverts meet any of these new standards by like a long shot.
Is
So,
that really necessary? I mean. Are the culverts not handling the situation?
well, some of them is obviously, climate change and the more runoff that we're catching.
They're undersized, maybe.
They're relatively undersized because of some of those conditions, but it's also, there's some biological aquatic connectivity stuff, and they want to see the stream have a little ability to move. So it's like, that's why part of the reason why they want, it's why Seneca Point Road went from an 8x8 culvert to, a 9x16.
Yeah.
They want a certain width now, so it's a big lift for communities to kind of upsize these culverts. So I think they know that, and I think that's why they're funding them this way.
So I was more concerned with the necessity of all of it, the state making these rules and.
Well, these
Oh,
particular
just
rules
telling
are
you.
not state rules, these are federal rules. The GB standards, they're Army Corps.
Okay, well, I'll blame them too then.
Yeah. You absolutely can, but I just wanna make sure it's not, so it wasn't the state that made all these rules, these are
If it was the state made them up, they wouldn't be providing the funding.
probably not. Probably not.
Good point.
And then the second grant was for the MS4 mapping. I think that one was 90 grand, but that one's joint between the city and the town. So that
Split
one,
equally?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
How was that, John?
Was it split equally?
Oh,
I don't know, but it was ever spelled out that way. It was just a grant we applied for together.
Yeah, exactly.
so we get this grant together with the city. City's got their own guy. We're splitting the guy with Farmington. Who's gonna do that?
Well, it's the actual
Actual
mapping.
work.
Yeah, it's the mapping side of it. So
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We have to figure that out. I think that's Kevin's kind of involved, so I think Kevin was gonna try to work with the city and then come back and talk with us, and
Strange.
so.
It's like a Rubik's Cube.
That one, that's why I haven't touched that one, because I don't know what to do with it right now. I have to wait. I'm gonna wait.
Is the local share,
Wait for Kevin to tell me what he wants me to do.
it's a local share 10% too?
Yes,
90?
I'm assuming that will be split between the city and.
That's where the city contribution can make in. Cause you're doing the work, MRB, right?
I don't know if we're doing all the work.
You're
I think we might have a portion of the work. I don't know if we have all of it though.
Kevin's gonna coordinate the.
Yeah, I'm sitting on the sidelines until he tells me what he needs me to do.
The first one, though, that planning grant.
That
I
one,
mean-
I will get you a proposal for.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right.
So I have to work through. Because because all the funding that's behind it has strings attached to it. So I have to do good faith efforts to look for DBEs and.
Oh, kind of like the second
this
point
is-
grant.
Yeah, I gotta do all this like background stuff to kind of like, so I gotta send out RFPs to a bunch of different consultants, and then. Hope to God that we get a good one.
MWB.
MW, SV, DOB, DBE, EO, all that good stuff, yeah.
Freaking alphabet soup.
It's all the regulatory nonsense that we have to jump through, but my point was like, because I had to sub a chunk off, I wanted to get something out of it, so that's why I'm gonna do it, I wanna do the preliminary survey.
Yeah, we should get maybe next 2 weeks, get a Kevin, set up a time with him.
Yeah, for the minute, yep,
Yeah. He's got new staff down in Lindsay is in his office, so. He may have, he may push it off on her to help us get going on this. At least he's got someone helping full time there.
Kevin
That's-
does?
Yeah, that's been part of the problem, because Kim's been out with her kids and other stuff, but she's really just part-time, he has a hard time. Putting everything going in the right direction all the time, it's just him doing it. Keeping track of all this stuff. Now he has somebody there helping us.
Dealing with all these complexities of bureaucracy must take the bulk of his time. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a fair amount.
it's insane.
He gets money, Terry, you know, he gets money a lot.
Well, I know, oh,
He
I
leveraged
understand.
the
but
lake, he
He
leveraged
loves
the lake.
He can write
I'm
a
just
grant,
saying that
get
all
money.
these. Here's the one you get to, but you got all these strings attached, all these things that have to be
It's not easy.
political, what it is. All right, enough ranting.
You are a little, let's say you are a
I
little
know,
touchy
right?
this morning, buddy. I wake you up too early.
How does everybody
Roll
want
a
to?
soapbox.
I think it all started with the LDC, right?
I don't know what that one.
I don't either,
Maybe
but
don't
it
wanna
sounds
know.
like a good one.
Maybe I don't wanna
Not
know.
on the agenda. We're not gonna deviate. Until we get past number 6.
Nanda Park.
Nanda Park.
So Jim, I just,
Yeah, I saw
Mark
this
said,
morning.
I don't know if, can you pull up the PDF from your email?
Are you signed on your name right now? Nah, I'll just email it to everybody.
Okay,
Sorry, because.
All right.
Sounds clear, you go, you know.
So he emailed, so Mark's been working on the SWIP procedure of ONAGA, how we're going to proceed with our stormwater. So we get these ready to do construction. So they sent that this morning. It sounds like.
we're working through regulatory, so like, plans went off to the DOH for the water. Plans went out, for the septic, the SWIP is taken care of. I think, one of the other last elements that we really have to do is do the coordination for electrical and then work with Jadestone to get the electrical design done, for the site. But essentially, the design plans are more or less together. I would say that we're probably in the neighborhood of like 95%, with the design, plans themselves. So, I wanted to at least show you.
Did I get that email?
I think I just sent it to, I had Mark send it to Jim, so I figured we could pull it up on the.
So I could
board,
drop
but-
it, email it to me, I could just
I'll
drop
just-
it, I could drop it in the M drive.
Yeah, let me just do that real quick.
I think Jim said something the other day that water was okay, you got something back from Department of Health regarding water.
I don't think I haven't seen anything back from the department, we sent it in, so I'm assuming we're in the queue, so it's probably gonna take, 4 to 6 weeks for someone to get
I
through it.
thought he said that he had permits for,
We talked with the county cleared us to open cut the road.
okay,
So I know that was one of the first hurdles, because to drill under County Road 16 would be really problematic, because the Sands property on the other side of the road, like, it drops like a rock. So there's really no good way to set up a drill rig in that location.
Right
Can
there,
transfer
just
that,
gotta
please.
refresh it.
So the water main does include, I think right now he's got 2 separate drill locations. We might wanna go and do some test pits at some point, just to verify depth of the shale.
It's all the way up top to the right.
Oh, nice. I know, I'm looking for the Zoom. Okay. It's this, okay.
Just kind of page through that real quick. Notes.
all redacted.
Just some notes.
You good, can you read that to us?
This is the existing / demo, so the things that are shaded dark. Or darker are things that are going to be changed than the existing features that are light. The big things to kind of at least identify for you guys is that from the, that S curve that you see in the drive. Yeah, in between the two pockets, that's basically where all the stormwater mitigation is gonna occur. There is some, upland, infiltration, uh, things put together, on the plans, but that's, the bulk of the stormwater retention detention is down here. And the other key feature is the shed. That right now is the distribution for the electric. That we're gonna have to work around when we do all that work.
Right
Just south,
here,
yeah, it's like just south
right
of, yeah, the basketball. Yeah. So we're going to, part of this will be, replacing the water lines going up the hill, because everything that runs up the hill right now is all temporary. So we're gonna run to the Four Season cabins, the bathhouse, King's Hall. Everything will be a Four Season frost depth buried water main. So that'll allow us to have fire protection, up along for these facilities. We will have some isolation to each of these facilities that will include a drain back valve, so that if we do take them offline, you can mothball it when draining the line. We go to the next page. So this is kind of showing just the improved features, showing the lower parking lot, the realigned, or the reimagined road alignment, which will flatten out the road, make it a little bit safer for, emergency vehicles. So you see kind of like the swath that'll be cut. I believe this has been staked in the field for tree
Yes.
removal.
Yep.
So, and then, the 6 cabins and the bathhouse there at the end. So that'll be basically a two-way, in and out. Scroll down again. This is starting to show some of the utilities, so you can see where the new septic is. This septic system is actually kind of a newer style of leach field. It's very compact. The DOH and the DEC both really like this technology. But to give you an idea, if this was conventional, that area would increase by like 150% for what we would need for the leach field space. So this is, it's a pretty cool technology.
What is it?
It's a type of, it's not like the chamber where you flood them and then everything kind of percolates down through the bottom. I believe these ones are, they're more pipe-like, but they have, it's I don't know.
It looks to me, yeah, it looks to me like it's I'll call it a mat.
Yeah,
Okay, it's square and maybe 2 inches tall. So instead of having long chambers for it to leach out to the attic.
it's like kind of like the old ways, like they had like these arches and then the bottom was just aggregate and then you'd fill it all up and then it would kind of percolate its way down. This one is a little bit different because it has the ability to do like some fixed film with the media that's in it.
And it also, so instead of doing a long tube, you can utilize all of your evaporation area that you're covering for your leach field. So you can make them not as long and not as large. So,
Right.
Working compact.
Yeah, they're incredibly more efficient. And like I said, the DEC and the DOH really like them right now, so. But the dark shaded things are the 6 cabins and the bathhouse.
Okay.
And then I think what you see on there, you probably saw some of the water main that was shooting up there, but this is the grading plan. So you can see there's a lot of grading to accomplish. There are some retaining walls that are necessary for the parking lot for King's Hall.
Maintain that nice sledding path.
Yeah, the sled path is still there, so like that's still open.
Talk about,
Controversial.
pulley system to get people on.
Oh, right, yeah, there you go. This is just basically.
Won't snow anymore. Climate change.
Well, you can put some snow guns up here.
He's
Oh.
got, guys are out there
Thanks.
now chopping away at,
The trees,
cutting trees and stuff, I guess, so.
okay. This is basically the stormwater management plan phasing, so, you know, obviously, we're gonna try to focus on getting the stormwater facilities in. And it's as complete as we can, in the early stages. But we're gonna try to make sure we limit the site so we're not more than 5 acres. I think this is just a blow up with the grading showing the, there's an infiltration basin right there. Just south of the 3 cabins and just north of the, yeah, right there, that's the infiltration basin. That's the upper one. You see like there's regrading the Kings Hall parking lot and there's a retaining wall for that. This is the profile of the water main coming up the hill. So as you can see, it's pretty steep in sections. The steepest parts of the hill, I think we're basically gonna use HDPE, either, I mean, one can be drilled, the other one probably be trenched, but both could be drilled. We'll put concrete anchors on either end due to the steepness, and then the rest, everything in between can be PVC.
If you can put a check valve at the bottom.
Yes, yeah, we talked about that.
Top of the hill.
Yep.
Sewer.
Steep and I've seen when you look at it that way.
Well, it's, I mean, you got, there's an exaggeration. I think that, is that the water main?
It's like a drop off cliff right there.
Yeah, I know,
Profiles
I
are,
think that might be the water.
Okay.
But the advantage is the line pressure down by the road is like 160 some odd pounds, so. That's just detailing the profile utilities. And then give you some of the standard details.
Jim, you said you got guys cutting trees down.
We were going to do it this week and then snow all week,
Oh,
because we moved everything up there last week, they're gonna do this week, so. So we'll try again next week.
So one of the fun things that we still have to kind of figure out for each of the pads is how we're gonna deal with the cabins and how we're going to have an insulated chase for the utilities coming up into the cabin. So if you look out there at the cabin that's there right now, I think that one's built to be on piers.
It is.
The only thing that one of the things that I've flagged as a point of concern is where the drainage piping is. Cause it runs pretty much along the whole outer skirt of the unit. We might have to look at trying to like replumb that to try to push that inward. So we can kind of wrap it with inside some sort of an insulated. You know, if it's a crawl space type foundation or whatever, we need to figure something out to do that.
you said the other day that Lindsay was talking about using an A-frame, different style cabin for future cabins at
Correct.
Pitts Park, so
Yes.
these things that maybe we didn't look at for this one, we can
Look at for the next one.
Yeah.
incorporate. For-
We'll just wanna understand what's their best thoughts towards a foundation and then, you know. If it's needs to be insulated, what would that look like?
Right.
Cause they would likely gang up their utilities, I think, if they could. The advantage of doing something like a crawl space and have it insulated. It's just that I doubt that those things have a tremendous amount of insulation in the floor. So that you'll get quite a bit of ambient heating and cooling from having an actual crawl space versus having it just floating in the air on piers. Yeah.
So this might be a one-off.
We're gonna find out, buddy. Best I can tell you right
You
now.
lived there for the first winter and
Okay, I'll let you know.
big notes.
Rent free, right?
Oh, we're doing that?
Rent free.
We're doing
You can
All
stay
right.
there instead of going home again.
That's not a bad
I was saying,
idea.
that's, you're talking our language here.
Does it
No.
come, does it come with a beer stocks with a first stock with some beer?
You're testing it out, that's.
That's all.
Now we just have to chase down another. What, 1.2, 1.5 million to finish the whole thing off, so.
Yeah, that, I mean,
Your
park,
job, Jeff.
yeah,
I'm working on
Park.
it.
park implementation grants are kind of like, they're. They're really difficult to get the park implementation, particularly if you don't go through the park planning grant first, because you get bonus points. And because it's so, yeah, what was
Just the guy's pulling out.
Gotcha.
It's on the floor.
because these applications are so competitive, I think those bonus points end up being the separating factor. So, just when you guys think about that for future, park endeavors, I would always recommend we go for the planning grant first and then go for the implementation.
Planning's all done.
No, yes, I know.
They don't know that.
No, right. But I'm just saying, like, it just seems like these grants are kind of, they're ultra competitive, there's just a lot of them that go in there, I mean, you know, we have hit on them in the past, I know we got an innovation grant for outhouse. That was like, what,
I help when I was walking.
16 years ago or something like that, I mean, that goes back a ways. But I think that was also when the program was kind of more in its infancy, so there probably was less applications, so it's probably a little less competitive at that point in time.
You got your MOU done, that's done between the town and the highway department, talked about it last month. The memorandum.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yeah, John, I got that done, the board took care of that. Sorry about that, Chuck,
That's right. These are acronyms.
Sorry, I don't remember what it was for either. I did the whole thing.
So we could obligate.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, no,
I
I'll
was
say it, our
sitting there like, I know I did it, but
Yeah.
what was
It
it
has
for?
to do with money.
That's not a big deal.
Yes, that is complete, so,
It's just, you know.
and we did it in such a way, so it was excess. So that all funds can be obligated, it was excess to the highway, but not so much that, you know. We have, it was written so that it up to an amount, not like, that's the amount we have to provide the highway, but. And then it covers everything that we, you know, potentially may have missed too, so. It's all good to go.
Term loose.
So for another park, if you guys are looking for other funds to help supplement. SAM grants are up to $250 now.
Well, grants.
SAM grants,
SAM.
those are your local, like Pam can give you a SAM grant.
Oh,
So
what's Sam, SAM?
it's pork money. It's just
What's
another,
SAM?
it's.
System award.
That's all right.
Yeah, something like it doesn't reflect what it is. It's pork money.
The only SAM I know is system award management, but I didn't know. It was a grant.
I
It
can,
might be.
we can ask Abby when
That's
we're
not,
up on the phone, but.
You don't need to look at it.
But so there's SAM grant that can get you $250. That's, I mean, it's not what you guys need, but maybe it can help.
Well, you piece some things together,
Right.
sell naming rights to the cabins to some of the,
Yeah.
some of the neighbors down in the.
Well, if they're gonna say MRV, I was like, all right, sure.
No,
State and municipal facility.
we know, we want
Yeah, there you
that
go.
money back.
SAM grants and then perhaps a congressional earmark for another park wouldn't be a bad idea to kind of look at, but again, congressional earmarks that's dealing with your federal level people, so that's an act of Congress to go ahead and pass that legislation. I would say potentially Ananda Park or the water project, because we have been landing earmarks of late for Yeah, for these water projects. Basically, what we found out is that rural development's budget got shrunk as more of this money got shifted towards earmarks. So they seem to be funding water and sewer jobs right now.
Get the Doge and all these things.
Yep.
And eliminate. All right, let's do a review of and then the park. Oh, we're on Seneca Point Road, that's.
I apologize, I should have brought you guys an updated set of plans, I grabbed the wrong agenda, so.
We really haven't got very far, other than just talking with Kistner on the side of the call.
Yeah, so we're set on a culvert, I'm set on the retaining walls, we're gonna use a Gravix style retaining wall. The purpose being is that it's so tall, I can't do it as a precast. And then the head wall will have to be a cast in place because again, it's so tall, Gravix doesn't want to use their product as a head wall, so. I'm through like 50% of the design at this point in time, we're doing a takeoff. I owe Robbie a budget, is where I'm at right now, so, but I had to finish the design, or at least get the design pretty well locked in with like the main elements before I could get him a budget.
Yeah,
So we worked through that process. It was a difficult job because of the size. Originally, Robbie was telling me we had to go with an 18-foot span on the culvert because that's what their H&H sub-consultant had recommended based on the GB standards. I pushed back because talking with precasters, they were like, we can't get you an 18-foot span with a 28-foot overburden on top of the box. It was an impossibility. We were talking about using like number 11 rebar and having the top slab be like 24 inches. It'd be too heavy. Really difficult scenario. So I pushed back quite a bit, and now I think we got everybody kind of lined up. We can cut it down to a 16-foot, but that's still twice as wide as what the existing culvert is. So if you're in your head, twice as big, twice as much. So there will be a kicker probably when we look at the budget, which is what I'm working on right now, because of how much wider they're making us make the culvert. I am settled on a 4-sided structure because at 28 foot of overburden, I don't want to have any issues with scour. This is a one-off. We're gonna do this culvert and no one's gonna look at this thing again for another 100 years. So it's got to be pretty much bulletproof. So that's the direction that we're heading in. And like I said, I think we should have that. I'm supposed to have the budget wrapped up. Like I said, they'd have it done today, in which case I'll probably get something to Rick like early next week. Which that should kick things kind of moving along down the road. I mean, once we have everything kind of labeled up, then we'll do some coordination for, this is like right for bidding, and then I'll have my structural guy finalize his head wall design, footing designs, that type of thing.
So what's your timeline? Right, what do you think?
I'm not really driving it. It's whatever
Yeah.
goes in it. So it's like it's not supposed to be let until like later in 25. I think it's at the
The
letting.
earliest.
Yeah. So
This is a
yeah.
next year project.
Mhm.
26 probably.
Right.
Probably 26, I would think. By the time it actually starts.
Doing these projects through the
Starting
DOT is really interesting because they make you do so many steps that I wouldn't normally do for a culvert. Just checking in on like crash history, and there's just all the stuff that, yeah, it's like
Last time you paved the road.
there's so many random things it's tedious to go ahead and find this information and then put it all into this giant report that really doesn't mean an awful lot. And then that way someone can check a box, say, okay, you can go on to the next step.
Would have been easier to just dig down, put a bridge.
Well, that was one of the
We did
alternatives, but
discuss
the
that,
problem
yeah.
is your bridge would be a really big span.
Yeah.
And then that becomes the county's responsibility.
Well, I know, but it would cost a lot of money.
Right, well, I'm getting at that, because it's over 20 feet in width, and now it becomes
Yeah,
a county bridge.
but we would have to build it
If we
right
build it.
first, so like,
Mhm.
problem is you gotta build, you'd have to build the abutment that's 28
yeah.
foot tall. On either side, right? And then your span, I think we looked at the span, it'd have to be like 60 feet.
Ooh.
Yeah, like I said, it was a pretty significant bridge at that point in time.
Okay, we hammered that one enough.
I believe so.
Town hall renovations.
Everything's moving along swimmingly. I think we just need to know whether we're gonna do any changes to it.
Yes, so I went through with.
You did talk with Maggie?
Yep,
Okay, good.
Maggie and, Joe.
Yep,
Yeah, the other day.
okay, good. Are they all set? Are we gonna, is there any changes we're gonna make or no?
Yeah, the conference room. We're gonna change that, they're gonna be putting out the original plans though first.
We have to do that,
Yes.
so we have to issue the conform sets. Get agreement, you know, basically get us all to the point of agreements are all signed. And then once the agreements are signed, then we can come back and issue a change order. We can't do it now because it'd look really fuzzy to anyone else who wasn't the low bidder. That we're changing the work scope prior to
Yeah.
an agreement. So
So we're,
that's the process.
yeah, so we're trying to get, accomplish two things, one. I was trying to get, with the way that the staff is gonna be on the other side of the building. The doorway going through development and up and all the way around, I was trying to get. Myself more accessible to the staff on the other side of the building, rather than staying where I am now. But then using that space to create a longer conference room. So where my office is now, what the initial plans were to, what the supply closet is, to bump the wall into where my office is, remove that middle section. And have a little conference room there, but that was only gonna, when we're looking at it, I mean, you're gonna get like a round table with 4 chairs in there.
Right.
So I thought if we still utilize the supply closet, remove that wall, go all the way up to where Sue's office is. And use the same tables that are down in the courtroom, we'd have a lot of flexibility out of that room, we'd be able to have a real. A lot of space, for a conference room when you put them together. And then you also can set it up classroom style to do like a training room
Oh,
and such, so, and then I was looking to get into the other side of the building with the rest of the staff, but all those offices are used up, so I'm gonna be taking that center conference room, as an office, which I was trying to get the other side, because I didn't wanna take up that much space, I don't think, everybody keeps telling me I need that much space, I'm good with a closet, but so that's where. So, and then I'm accessible to both sides of the building, with Jared being on one side, Sue, the clerk's office, staff being on the other side of the building. And
Bring those
I'll
orange
have it
chairs
across.
Yeah,
Oh,
the orange chairs, bring those
Oh,
back.
I remember those are going back.
so I'll be able to have access to the lobby, and then also to the other side of the building with the pass through, so. And there's not much that needs to change in there, so really, we're actually doing a little bit less work by. Not creating those 2 extra spaces where my office is, I'm just taking the wall down, door's gonna be. In one spot closer to Sue's office, so that you're coming into the back of the conference room, there's enough space. So,
That'll be the only conference area.
the first
Top
floor,
floor,
yeah,
first floor.
so, and then it's gonna, and again, it's more gonna be like a flexible use room where, again, you can make a conference room. We should be able to get, if we really wanted, we could get 3 lengths of those tables, like the courtroom has in there. Probably will only need 2, but you can have 3, and again, you can set it up classroom style. For any board members who wanna come in, you can push them up against the walls, have little working spaces. So it's gonna give a lot of flexibility.
Sounds good.
Whereas the other even the center conference room still,
A little small.
it's smaller, it's wider than what is going to exist after this renovation, but it's still it's smaller and that table in there still, you know, when we try to meet, you still have to have people.
Yeah,
Like when we do staff meetings in there, you
Yeah,
still have to
wall
have
there,
people
yeah.
against the wall and everything, so this will get everybody. And then if we want, and then we can also do committee meetings and such in there. Have the TV set up and even be able to set up a row of chairs in the back, like two, you know. 6 to 8 chairs in the back for the nobody that shows up to them, but have it available for anybody who wants to show up,
right,
so.
makes sense.
Sounds good. Everybody is, seems to be, being able to get everything done with where they're allocated all around there.
Yeah,
Except for
everybody,
Murphy bitching about the gold that is down there all the time, so.
yeah, development's down in the one room, they're making it work, you
Go
know,
downstairs.
yeah, they're all crammed into the one room, they're making it work. Yep,
Mhm.
forget what that was called,
Some steamboat.
yeah, they're doing.
Oriana.
Yeah, they're doing one person, is. They're rotating work from home days, so one day a week, somebody works from home to kind of lessen up. The space, the cram it in there, but so it's.
That'll go back to being a conference room after everything's done,
Yeah,
so there's,
probably, the unfortunate thing, what I come to realize when I was. Going through this all and trying, and those changes, seeing where else I can go, is realizing that. Unfortunately, we don't have any room for growth. Every
Yeah.
office is pretty much occupied.
That's, I mean, that was part of the reason for, if we, I mean, just for history, that was part of the reason for the nose on the back of the building.
Yeah,
Was to actually, that expansion, I think at that time, we talked about it, that was like about a $1 million expansion.
well, we had, when we did that whole campus review,
Yeah,
it was about 8 years ago now.
yeah,
This before, but just,
yeah,
when we looked at that building and we had two different. We had going out to the east
right,
and then
coming out
had
the
a
back.
building out the back. I mean, there were some concepts done at that time, but
yeah, I mean, the most,
it's.
any
sooner or later-
future expansion, any future growth. The most probably reasonable thing to do would be to build a new courthouse and then.
Separate that, yeah.
Yeah,
That'll-
that was part of it too,
There's
moving
a
it out.
double wide,
Right,
as you can do a lot of places, they just have like a little double wide, and that's where they hold court.
Yeah, with these renovations, you know, at that, spend the money on these renovations, at that point. Yeah, anything in the future, the reasonable thing to do would just be build a new courthouse somewhere on town property
Yeah,
and,
but that only really frees up your basement though. It doesn't free up anything up above.
no, it frees up the basement for, for expansion, so.
Yeah.
It gives us,
yeah,
Have like a whole lot.
that's,
and there's really not many offices down, there's only really the one.
No,
that
you,
turn into,
that's like, you
but
have to like. Totally.
You have to reconfigure the basement at that point too.
oh, yeah. That's, not on the agenda today. You don't have-
Terry's like, that's somebody else's problem, check.
It will be sooner or later, I mean, we've talked about the courtroom for years now. Trying to go in with another municipality and share facility.
I mean,
Back
you've
and
got,
forth
you've
to
got
city.
a concept schematic of the courthouse.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, it's. You know, that you've took some initial steps, we gotta find funding, that's
Well, that's
I know, that's everything, exactly, so,
the
but I
whole
mean,
thing, you're talking millions of dollars. We have all these projects that are all millions of dollars,
yep.
and we just. Gotta take the fines off, that's what we gotta do.
Yeah. Or hold off long enough, and the state ends up doing regional court instead of town courts.
Possibly.
Like you said, you didn't wanna talk about LDC today, because that's LDC, right? How do we generate more sales?
It's not on here, but the LDC, we are gonna be meeting on the 29th, I guess, so. That had the most votes. And we will have a meeting next Thursday morning. Otherwise, we'd just be blowing off. what, 80,000 divided by 12 for the month, if we didn't meet till the end of the month. I just, as I said yesterday, that I think it reflects some people's commitments to whether we should continue the organization. Not wanting to meet sooner, but it needs to be streamlined in its scope. It needs to be much finer focus, as we've discussed, you know, so.
If I gotta take anything back to my guys, let me know.
But for LDC,
Yeah. If there's anything that I need to let them know, I mean, fill me in, I'll give them direction.
oh. No,
No,
yeah,
I was just referring to. You know, a lot of the other people not wanting to meet until,
Gotcha.
not being available
Yeah.
until the end of the month.
no, it's,
So if there's anything that I can
Sooner.
help from my end, just tell me,
well, MRB could pay our $40,000 share.
I'll check with
I
Brian.
mean, ask Ryan, you know, I mean. No, that's, we'll see what happens next week when we have our normal monthly meeting. But, yeah, LDC is, be interesting, to see what its future really is. So,
Well, next week's meeting won't be very telling. It'll be the meeting
Oh,
on the
yeah.
29th that
yeah,
we'll get a feel for really what the city's commitment is to this whole idea and concept.
yeah, yeah. No, that's,
And and as you just inferred, I think the focus has to change.
Yeah.
It's gotta be narrowed. And
absolutely, absolutely.
Makes sense to try to show any progress, if you're
well, I
if you're
think
trying to push a broad area, right, it's really hard to get anything done versus trying to push a narrow area.
focus has not been narrow enough. It's been too broad and we end up spinning our wheels and we talk about everything, but we really don't
Nothing.
address action items.
Right.
We don't get. We need to focus.
It's interesting, I mean, as Matt pointed out, we brought in, what was it, $600,000 in grant money over the years. And the combined investment, the first 3 years, $50,000 a head. Or 300 grand, then it dropped to 50, so we invested about 450. Gotten 600,000 in grants as a result of efforts by that group. So balance pans are, you know,
Right.
in the right direction for. And financial side of things, but. In terms of trust and. What we're accomplishing, I mean, it really comes down to. Tourism and infrastructure, those are the two areas that we decided on a few years ago. That's where the focus should be. But yet our strategic plan calls for focuses.
Too
A
many.
whole bunch of other areas,
Too much.
it just dilutes any effort that could be devoted to those areas, you know, so. Then you have. The town of Canandaigua is gonna do what's in the best interest, of the town of Canandaigua, the same thing with the city. So they're not competing forces, but. You know, we are going to do what we have to do. And. You know. Our thought process, our efforts are all directed in that area. Supporting LDC. If tourism is the biggest area that we see from an economic standpoint. We really need to bring in the people that are doing that for a living, like
Right.
Finger Lakes Visitors Connection, the bid, downtown bid. If those people have a seat at the
They have to
table,
be at the
what do
table.
you see that we do as a collective group to help those efforts, you know? So.
I talk with like.
But that just hasn't happened yet, and that really needs to be part of the equation, I think. That's the direction I hope we ultimately go in, so, you know, it's we'll see, 29th.
But I think Andy's on board with that.
Oh,
too.
yeah, Randy is too, right, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
well, I think, yeah, it's, yeah. And Tracy from.
Yeah.
You know, what's it called, whatever, Chamber of Commerce. Question I had is regarding all the efforts that went into trying to get some money out of FEMA for all the problems we had in July of 23. Is there anything, I mean, you guys are doing work. Everything we've, just a very simple table that shows, here's the total dollars we're asking for. Here's what they've said that they would take a look at.
So we have
Is there something like
we have the
that?
disaster estimates. And mitigation estimates, I don't, we don't, did we do any improvement? And I was doing Gorman and I at the same time, so I could get them blurred.
So part of our delay is we had one representative who has inputted a fair amount of it wrong,
Wrong, you said?
wrong
From the FEMA side,
on
John.
the FEMA side. And now I have a new representative who's working with B in the state. And who's our representative on the state side to get our information in the correct categories and spell it out correctly. So that he can submit to FEMA for reimbursement. So in a sense, we're doing this twice.
What total number of dollars we're asking for?
I had a little screenshot the other day, John, we've gotten, what, 96,000 as of 96,000. Say 100,000 was in that range, I'm still asking for $1 million-ish more.
Jim had a lot of projects, well, there was
A lot
like,
of culverts,
it's like 7 of them or something like that.
you know, the stormwater ponds dual. The culverts that were damaged need to be upsized, going on the park. They are allowing to put in for a new bridge over on the one that washed out.
Oh, that's cool.
They're gonna let us do that. And the park itself from all the stuff that we did ourselves down there.
Is that a big chunk of it, House Park?
You know,
Roadway?
Alice Park is probably 100-ish.
Oh, okay.
That's, yeah.
Today we received $93,660.70.
So they give us 66%, if we get 12.5 from the state, and the rest is on BD. So basically we get like 75%.
But the whole process is incredibly complicated because it starts off with, you have to do these disaster estimates, which is basically taking what was there and restoring it back to what was there. And then there's another bin, which is mitigation, which is basically, okay, so if this wasn't adequate, I've got to improve it, or I've got to mitigate what was there so that I can avoid future disasters. And then beyond that, there's another bin for improvements for, okay, now I'm gonna improve this so that I can eliminate the risk of mitigation and disaster.
Then there's codes and standards.
Yeah.
Another pocket. I just say that,
There's no good roadmap for FEMA, and the people that we started working with, I think had things jumbled up. So we got jumbled up trying to go through this whole process because we're listening to these people trying to tell us what to do.
our fourth. I'm sorry. Mitigation appraiser, for lack of a better term, the person that looks at
Is
this.
this Brees?
You know, this is Brees now, but you know, we had Gloria,
Yeah.
we had Irving, we had two. Somebody else, so the long and short of this, John, is I keep track of my time, which is category Z. And then town will get reimbursed for that. So
All else fails. Put it in category Z.
category Z, so it's just, it. Look. I understand that, but it's like. You know what, you guys, people make this so difficult for us to do.
Well, it's not something you can count on at all. So when they do give some money, does it has to be, do they say it's targeted to this part of the application? You say, okay, got this culvert washed out. We have to replace it. So they give the money and that's the only place it can go, or is it?
It should, because let's say we have an event later and they gave us money to mitigate this problem and we didn't.
Yeah, that's
They're probably gonna say, well, we paid you once to fix this, you
Yeah,
did.
you're,
right.
We're not gonna help you this time again, is what you follow what I'm saying, sure. So,
well, based on all that. How do you think? These areas out in LA area are gonna rebuild.
Oh, jeez.
That's
FEMA's
not,
there to
you know
help.
what, that's, well, it's a, I don't see on national,
right-
is it national?
It's the
Get
right,
money before it
it's the
dries
right
up.
state for FEMA to help.
Well,
But it's also like apparently a lot of those people didn't have fire insurance.
Yeah.
Like it was too expensive, so they just didn't get fire insurance, so I'm like,
All they have is the value of their piece of property.
oh,
That's
you're,
it.
look,
it's still worth a lot.
you know, if it
Some
isn't
areas,
public,
A lot of
It
areas.
is,
you
but it's
know,
not, they're gonna
public's
do
not, public
reimbursement
will
for
get
what they
reimbursed, it's not, no. If I had, if this paleo building burned down, probably, but
Right,
it's just like the
so
flooding,
we didn't have, residents didn't have,
Right.
No,
assistance, just.
so, right.
well, it's just like, it's made so complicated. Is it done purposely so that they don't have to put money out?
No, I think there,
it's-
to me, you
Go
say,
ahead.
no, you say what you
I don't wanna
want to say.
say, 'cause it won't be good.
So like what I see is like,
Being recorded.
Yes.
everything is siloed so much in FEMA. Because like there's state FEMA people, there's federal FEMA people, there's FEMA that deal with disaster, there's FEMA for mitigation, there's FEMA for improvement. There's FEMA for codes and standards, they're all siloed into these, so like when we try to have a phone call. With FEMA, there's like 6 people on the line with us, that's not us. So it's to me, it's like they're all bunkered, siloed in, and it's really hard for a project to migrate its way through the silos. That's what I see.
I will say, you know, I know the state's a pain in the ass, but our state rep's been very good for us.
Mhm.
Ed's always looking out for our interest. So that's been a plus for the state side of
I
things.
think Brees has been really good. Like
Brees
Brees
has
has
been pretty good,
totally changed my perception of FEMA once Brees got involved.
Well,
it's just
the-
unfortunate that we're doing this again. Cause it wasn't done right the first time, or first or third person.
yeah, that costs us something.
Cost me my sanity some days with these people.
Well, I'm just curious where we were right now. It's not, certainly not something you can budget for and say, well, we're gonna get this, because the whole thing's rolling dice and maybe you get something, maybe you don't.
I get the majority of that
We're gonna get money, it's just,
when.
you know, it's gonna be sometime in 25, so I'll tell you. When? The 25.
Okay, that's comforting. Anything else? One anyone wants to bring up?
Street lights are done.
Street lights are done.
Okay,
Yep.
check that off the list.
Yeah, they look very nice out there, I gotta say,
We're
it's,
still waiting for an invoice.
yeah, Greg,
Yeah.
we had a change order, we had some wiring that we had to repair. We had some neutral wiring issues between the lights.
We're just trying to close the contract according to the
Yeah,
contract.
we spent an additional $4,000 to fix some wiring, a few other things
So we had
out
some
there.
paperwork to kind of like
But actually,
We were way
assemble
under.
and then.
we're way under, did it for less than 500,000.
Good.
I think it looks, those lights make a huge difference out there now, the sidewalks look nicely if someone does wanna use it, and it looks good, doesn't look like a bunch of jack-o'-lanterns with some, you know, dark spots, bright spots down through there. Yeah.
It was done on time and under
Yeah.
budget, that.
Yeah, that's a rarity. Yeah, that's a rarity.
Should go say that too.
That's hard these days.
Um,
I have so many contracts that are held open because they're waiting on generators.
That's the supply chain issues, so.
Yeah.
It's never gone away.
No,
no,
It's-
no.
I don't know if that's by design.
Well. You want them, we got them, but price just went up.
correct,
Right.
yeah.
Sure. That part's by design, sure. All right, well, I guess we're done.
All set.
When we adjourn.
Sounds good.
Okay.
It is January and our